Justin Verlander returns. Obviously, this is the ace for the Astros. They have had a lot of pitching struggle in the early part of the season. Luis Garcia, Lance McCullers, Jose Urquidy, Framer Valdez, all on the IL. And I believe Christian Javier went on the IL with a neck injury. I mean, there's your starting rotation right there. So this team is really hurting right now with pitching help. But they do get Justin Verlander back. But 2 years ago, he won the Cy Young. He is 41 years old now. Is this going to change the course of their season at all? Because right now they're in last place in the AL West, which I don't think anyone predicted.
Yeah, it's a tough question. Do I think Verlander himself changes this season? No, I don't. To be honest with you, I'm shocked how bad the AL West has started outside of the Oakland Athletics. The fact that they have 9 wins through 24 games is miraculous. There's some things that are just trending in a negative direction, right? Negative 33 in run differential, 3-7 their last 10. They're on a 3-game losing streak as we're filming this. God knows what they're doing tonight. I don't think he single-handedly changes this. They can't stop giving up runs.
Yeah, it's a problem. And, I think it just comes down to, the big question mark whenever, what'd you say, 41 years old, Jedi? Coming off an injury. Can he maintain health? He looked great in his first start. I think his average fastball velocity was almost 95 miles an hour. I think it was 94.9 I saw. So if he can maintain that and be, the typical Verley, it's a huge shot in the arm, but they're 7-17. You're right, Dino. They're giving up a ton of runs. I don't know if they have the depth to be able to maintain from all these injuries that they've sustained.
They obviously haven't gotten to the start that they want, but it is worth noting that this is a team that's talented enough to turn it around. And with the way the AL West has gone so far in 2024, they could easily steal this division because the Rangers have not played that well, and neither have the Mariners. And they're right in there, to be honest, which is crazy.
You're right.
How bad of a start they've had.
Right. They're only 5.5 games out of, first place in the division. But that's not terrible being 7-17.
But when you look at like teams that are off to a bad start, right? Like the top 3 that come to mind. The White Sox are absolutely horrendous.
There's 3-20.
They're horrendous. The Colorado Rockies are horrendous. Outside of that, I look at the Marlins and I look at the Astros. Like that's the company that they're in right now. So to win that division, they're only 5.5 games back, and I know it's the first month of the season, but when you're starting to be in that category of those other 4 teams, it's alarming. And it's not just the pitching. Like they're not hitting at a clip that you thought that they would. They're giving up 6.25 runs a game.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
I don't think I don't think it's fair to put the Marlins in there. Even they are. They did make the playoffs last year, and I think they're another team that's kind of shocking to start their season like this.
And just the last note on the Astros too, you almost have to make that turnaround right now. Very quickly, we mentioned like the first month of the season. That could very quickly turn into 2 months of the season, quarter of the season, half the year before you kind of start picking up. And by that time, unless the rest of the AL West continues, being mediocre, you're way out of it at that point, no matter who's coming back.
Yeah, and I also don't think that you're going to be getting Cy Young Justin Verlander just at this point in his career. I think he's still going to be effective. He's going to be helpful. But is he going to be a full-on ace? No, probably not. But the last thing that I will ask to close out this conversation about the Houston Astros is this franchise, what's the right word I'm looking for? This dynasty that they had, is the window officially shut now? The fact that it seems like Lance McCullers probably with his injury history might not play at all this year. Framer Valdez is still questionable. I mean, is the window now shut?
I believe it is, actually. And I don't want to go as far as saying that I think that the Yanks winning the first 4 kind of set the tone for their season because they had the Yanks number for God knows how long. But when you start looking at this roster and all this stuff, like, you've had success in the past. You're not having success now. The next best thing financially and strategically is to break it down. Now, they won't walk from guys like Jordan and Tucker, but they have pieces that they might be sellers at the deadline for a couple guys just to shed some contracts and have a modified rebuild. I wouldn't say rebuild. I'd say like a retool. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, you mentioned those two pieces, Tucker and Jordan. I think they're staying Astros for life. Um, I just I just don't see it. It's not the same Astros team that we saw in those championship years. I know they've sustained a lot of injuries, pitching wise, but it's just not the same squad in my opinion. It just doesn't strike the fear like it used to.
Yeah, and I think that look out for Alex Bregman. He's going to be a free agent at the end of 2024. Big trade candidate there if they don't do well.